Hello, we are the Cook family, and we have some exciting announcements to make.
Yeah, God's been doing a lot in our life, and so we wanted to just take a minute to share a video with y'all on kind of the moves that He's making for us. So many of you guys know that I went on a trip to Poland and the Ukraine back in April, and when I left for that trip, my heart was on fire, passionate for the ministry at IVHOP. I was actually kind of surprised God was calling me there, but we wanted to be obedient, so I was gone for about a month to Poland and the Ukraine, and when I came back, I was really surprised at what God was saying. About a week in, I started just to notice, like, I am not in the swing of things yet here with the ministry, and really started to ask God, what's up with that? And felt like maybe I just need a little more time, but 1 week turned to 2, turned to 3, turned to about a month, and I became well aware, and especially with talking with Sarah and continuing to pray about it, that He was actually transitioning us out of the Illinois Valley House of Prayers leadership team, which was probably as big of a shock to me as it was to anybody. And so we started to ask the Lord, what exactly are you doing here? Why are we being called out of this beautiful thing that you've had us start and really lead these past 5 years? And at this stage, we honestly don't have all of the pieces in place. That's one of the things about this story, is it's so unconventional to the way that I think, people are normally supposed to do things. But we're just trying to follow the Lord's leadership every step of the way. And one of the things we felt Him saying to us was to consider a location change to Phoenix, Arizona. And we just kept on going, why Phoenix, God? We have no real ties there. Why would you be leading us in that area? And so after about 8 prophetic confirmations that I have recorded, at least for May and June, talking to people that were there, pastors and ministry leaders, we felt like we were supposed to at least visit. And so while the kiddos were up at Grammy and Grampy's house, me and Sarah took a trip in June to take a look out there. Now, when we were there, we honestly weren't super convinced that that's what God wanted to do for us. We were, I think, expecting Jesus to kind of come down and show Himself and be like, this is the land, take it. But it wasn't like that. And so we have just been continuing to process and work through this whole thing on trying to figure out what God has next for our family. And there are a lot of question marks, but there's even been some more prophetic confirmation recently that really still makes us think that there's a possible location change. Maybe Arizona. We're still not exactly sure yet, but we continue to figure out with the Lord what that could look like.
So one of the pieces lately that seemed to fall into place was some unity between me and Tyler, especially around Luke chapter 10. And if you've never read that chapter, the first part talks about when Jesus sends out the 72 disciples and they are about to go spread the gospel. But He tells them to not go out with many things. Don't take extra money, don't take extra clothes or shoes, which seems kind of like they weren't prepared.
A little bit unwise in worldly standards.
Yeah, and they were to depend on the hospitality of others and kind of seek out who the people of peace were in the city. So, anyways, I had the context of that Luke chapter 10 type sending out of the disciples, but one day I was sitting out in our front yard reading a book and not really thinking about Arizona or anything, but I felt like the Lord brought it to my mind, this Luke chapter 10 thing. And then the next part was, I felt like He was prompting me to consider that as we head to Arizona, that's kind of how we were to go out. So not many possessions, not many extra comforts or things we could depend on other than God alone and maybe the hospitality of others. So that got me thinking, but I really didn't like the idea. I kind of, in my mind, thought we were going to pack up all of our stuff, have a lot of comforts that we're used to, and so I kind of told God, no, that doesn't seem wise. And so I didn't even tell Tyler. I just kind of dismissed it as yeah, I don't really want to do it that way. Well, then that following weekend, Tyler and I were having our coffee time like we normally do on the weekends, and we just decided to have a more intentional prayer time about the direction and if Arizona was our place. And after we prayed, Tyler just randomly says, I can't get Luke chapter 10 off my mind. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, maybe God's saying something. So I tell him of my little thing out in the yard that happened. And we thought, okay, we need to read this chapter together. So we read it, prayed over it, and just really felt like unity on that, of being solely dependent on God in this season of wherever he's leading us. We think it's Arizona, but however we go, it's going to be kind of like that.
So we're being really careful to not share a lot of definites of what we're doing right now, because honestly, we don't have all of the answers, and we're not afraid to admit that. We're taking life one day at a time, one step at a time, and really James chapter 4, verse 13 through 17 is really speaking to us in this season of just not even really knowing what our life's going to look like tomorrow. And so we're taking it one step at a time. We do feel that the Lord is going to be keeping us in ministry. One of the things that we've just done is apply to a ministry organization that is sort of like in-state missions, so that we can eventually begin raising our own financial support for some of this in what we're doing. And we also know that God really wants to continue to use us in this new expression of church that he's doing in the earth right now. And so we're looking at a lot of different options, looking at some good partnerships as well, but at the same time just continuing to remain very open to what he has for us. And so thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to watch this video. Is there anything you guys want to say before we close?
That's the quick family update. Talk to you all soon.
Bye, guys!